Welcome, everyone. Welcome, everyone. Welcome, everyone, to another Ref Brandon and the Todd family YouTube video, wherever you are. Whatever you may be doing, thank you so much for making Ref Brandon and the Todd family part of your day. We always greatly appreciate it. If you jump on here live, here on this Thursday midday, feel free to leave a comment in the comment section down below. Make sure to give the video a like, a thumbs up. If you have not yet subscribed, please do so and share the video on all social media platforms. I did 2 videos yesterday, and if all goes as planned, I'm doing 2 videos again today. I like coming on here twice a day when I get the chance, which is not very often, but when I do, and I have content to talk about, I enjoy going live twice. I don't get on here just to ramble. Good afternoon, almost to you as well, Kevron. Glad to have you here. As always enjoy seeing your comments and hope you're enjoying your brand new car that I saw on social media back a couple of months ago there, Kevron. And as always, go Tigers. But I'm not going to go live twice a day if I don't have content because I don't believe in getting on here and just rambling to be rambling. But when I have content to discuss, I like going live twice, and I've got something else to discuss. Now, this is not a top 10 countdown, so I'm not going to count backwards from 10 down to 1, or in this case, 20 down to 1. I'm going to read 1 through 20. But I found this article, and I actually did a video very similar to this a couple of years ago, and it had, if I recall correctly, some of the same teams on it. But I enjoy seeing these because, let's be honest, for most people, the most annoying fan base in your mind, in your world, is either the fan base of a team you just totally hate because you hate that team, or it's because it's your favorite team's bitter rival. So since they're the rival of your team, they're annoying. But the fact is, just about everybody is going to say either their team's bitter rival or the team they hate is the most annoying fan base because you have reasons. But generally, you don't have a worldwide perspective because your perspective is where you live at. So if you're in Tennessee and you live there and you're a Volunteer fan, then you're going to find either Vanderbilt fans or Florida Gator fans the most annoying. If you live in Florida and you're a Gator fan, you're going to find Hurricane fans or Seminole fans the most annoying. If you live in North Carolina, you're a Tar Heel fan, you're going to find Duke fans the most annoying. But it's because of the fact you live in that area and you like one of the other teams. But if you live in Kentucky, then you really don't know how annoying Texas Longhorn fans are because you're in Kentucky. You don't know any Longhorn fans. So it's always easy to think that the team you hate is the most annoying because you hate that team. So it's always good to see articles like this and see people who, know the sport in general and know the sport as a whole and don't have a local bias or a regional bias, but they have a national flavor and a national look, and they've been all around and they know in general who the most annoying fan bases are. And this is the top 20 most annoying fan bases. And for the most part, most of these you understand. There's a couple on here that, as I was writing them down, I thought, why is that team on the list? For the most part, most of them you generally understand. And there's one on here that I'll tell you when I get done why they're on the list and exactly why they're on the list. And it has nothing to do with the fans. But let's go ahead and start. It's the top 20 most annoying fan bases. Number 1, Alabama. Number 2, Notre Dame. Number 3, Ohio State. Number 4, LSU. Number 5, Tennessee. Number 6, Michigan. And then rounding out the top 10, we have Georgia, Texas A&M, Texas, and Miami. Now that's the top half. As far as the bottom half goes, we have Oregon, Central Florida, Mississippi State, Auburn, USC, Iowa, Ole Miss, Nebraska, Arkansas, and then rounding out the list is Clemson. Now, for the most part, a lot of these you understand, like Alabama, it's because, even back in the day when there was no such thing as a national champion, you just played the regular season and then people voted on who the best team is. So there really clearly, truly was no national champion. But Alabama still claimed all those national championships, even though there was no national champion. So that can be very, very, very annoying. Notre Dame, you get it. People hate them because they're the only team that doesn't have to play in a conference but still get conference revenue. They got their own TV channel, and they get that revenue as well, and they ain't got to share it. And then this past year, they thought they should be in the playoffs just because they're Notre Dame, and the name alone should get them there. That you understand. Ohio State you get because they're the one team that never, ever, 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 ever has a bad year. If Ohio State goes 10-2, that's a bad year. They had 1 year with Luke Fickell as the interim coach that they won 6 games. But outside of that, they're a top 5 team every single year. They're never going to have a down year. They can change the entire roster and change the entire coaching staff, and they're still going to be a top 5 team. That can be very annoying. I get it. Tennessee, I understand. They're still living in the 90s and think that they've still got Philip Fulmer as their head coach. Hey there, Luffy. Glad to have you here on this Thursday. And Luffy, I think it's your first time being here. If it is, for whatever reason, made you stop by the channel today, thank you very much. Feel free to give the video a like, a thumbs up, and subscribe to the channel. And tell your friends, tell your family all about the channel. So a lot of them I understand, like Georgia. If you've been to Athens, you know that 95% of Georgia fans think their crap don't stink, and they think Georgia's the greatest team ever, and Georgia never loses. So Georgia, I understand. Most of these I get. Some of them I don't. Like Central Florida, they don't even have a fan base outside of Orlando. So to me, I wouldn't even think they have a big enough fan base to garner hatred. But apparently, more than likely, the annoyance comes from a few years back when they claimed a national championship when they didn't even play for one. So my guess is that's why they're so hated. Hey there, Alan. Glad to have you here on this Thursday. But Nebraska, I understand. Back in the 90s, they were the preeminent team in college football. So most of their fans came across as arrogant and annoying. So a lot of these I get. Iowa I don't get because I've never been to Iowa. But at the same time, the Iowa fans that I've heard, whether it's on the radio, on TV, whatever, always seem very down to earth, very realistic. Iowa's averaging football, averaging basketball. Hey there, Bruno. Glad to have you here. So to me, Iowa doesn't do anything in any sport that would make them annoying. But we all know the reason Clemson's on here is because of Dabo Swinney. It has nothing to do with the team, nothing to do with the stadium, nothing to do with the fan base. Matter of fact, just the other day, I talked to a guy that I used to go to church with, and he's actually visiting some people right now in Clemson. And I told him, hey, you're in God's country. He said, yeah, I'm just visiting. And I said, one thing's for sure, the people you meet there, will be very, very, very friendly. And I can promise you that. And he messaged back and said, yeah, you're right. These people here are very, very, very accommodating, very nice. They always have been. Clemson's one of the few places you can go, and a lot of fan bases are nice to you before a game and after a game, but during the game, they're jerks. Well, Clemson fans aren't like that. Clemson fans are nice to you before the game, during the game, after the game. If you come visit, whatever, doesn't matter. They're very accommodating, very nice, always have been. Clemson fans don't let a game go to their head, which is good because you shouldn't, because all that matters is, in reality, it's just a game. But for whatever reason, people despise Dabo Swinney. I still don't know why. I've never understood why. Dabo is one of the few coaches that tells it like it is, tells the truth, and people don't like it, which makes zero sense to me. But because Dabo is the head coach of Clemson, that makes Clemson in turn be annoying. If they had a list of top 20 most annoying football coaches, you can guarantee you Dabo would be number one. And a prime example of that is right now. You've got all these old school college football fans that are complaining about the way the game has changed, which it has, and they're complaining about the transfer portal and the NIL being the reason why it's changed, and it is. And then you've got Dabo Swinney trying to stand up and put a stop to it and call out folks for, not doing it correctly. And now people are mad at Dabo for saying something. It's like, wait a minute. We finally got a coach that has the nerve to come out and say something, and now you're mad about it. But the only reason they're mad about it is because it's Dabo Swinney. Had it been any other coach, they wouldn't care. But because people despise Dabo so much, they're mad about it. But everything he said was exactly 100% spot on. But since it's Dabo, people got a problem with it. But he wants to put a stop to it because people aren't doing it the right way. But most coaches won't say something because they're mad about it, they're upset about it, but behind closed doors, they're doing the same thing. Just like when Dabo talked about Pete Golding, the first thing Ole Miss did was come out and say, well, folks do it to us too. Well, that doesn't matter. What's wrong is wrong, and what's right is right. And what's right is right, even if nobody does it. And what's wrong is wrong, even if everybody does it. And just because somebody does it to Ole Miss doesn't mean it's right to do it to Clemson. So Dabo is just trying to put a stop to it. And everybody complains about the transfer portal NIL being wrong, but Dabo says it's wrong, and all of a sudden, oh, he's an idiot. Well, no, he's trying to put a stop to what you're complaining about being wrong. But for some reason, people just despise Dabo Swinney. I've never understood it, never have, and never will. You've finally got somebody in a sport that's 99% corrupt, and you get one guy who's trying to put a stop to it, trying to fix it, and then you complain because he's trying to put a stop to it and trying to fix it. Makes absolutely zero sense to me. But Dabo can say something because they can investigate Clemson, they can watch Clemson, they can follow Clemson, and they're not going to find any wrongdoing. So Dabo is one of the few coaches that can complain because if they investigate him and his program, they're not going to find anything. But Clemson's on this list just because Dabo is their head coach. If Dabo wasn't their head coach, they wouldn't be on the list. But so many people have grown hatred toward Dabo that it makes them in turn now grow hatred toward the Clemson fan base because the diehard Clemson fans are going to back Dabo, which they should because he's the head coach and he's doing things the right way. But see, me personally, yes, I'm a Clemson fan. Everybody knows that. And if you cut me, I bleed orange. But at the same time, if Dabo was our coach and he was doing things like Pete Golding was doing, I wouldn't be defending him because he's doing wrong. I'm not going to put a head coach and a football team or a baseball team, any sport, above my morals, above what's right and what's wrong. If you're doing wrong, I don't care if you are my coach, you're doing wrong. If Dabo was doing what Pete Golding's doing, I wouldn't defend him. But he's not. What he's doing is 100% clear, and 100% clean and 100% honest. So why folks don't like that, I'll never understand. But any thoughts on any of this, please feel free to let me know. Let's go ahead and get our dad joke of the day in here. I had cheese, but no crackers. I was crack-a-lacking. And that does it for today's Ref Brandon and the Todd Family YouTube video. Until next time, it's Ref Brandon saying, just like in pro wrestling, life can be over by the count of three. Tell your friends and family how much